Hi and welcome, I'm Tom, your host, and this is the DROPCAST interview edition. Today I will not talk to a poster artist, but rather to someone who is the reason why we have so many cool posters. Michael Jonathan Smith is a writer of at least one of your favorite TV shows like Cobra Kai, for example, and we will talk about how he got where he is in Hollywood right now, and also about pop culture and how much he needs to get his wife to make art for his shows. So stay tuned, head over to our Instagram profile at DropMacOfficial, and don't forget to smash that like button. Michael, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. As I mentioned before, I'm still feeling it every time here. I got a root canal. Half of my face is numb, so yeah, not a good feeling. And I also have, like, after we do the interview, there will be I will be having a live show with Vice Press.
Oh, cool.
So that's
awesome.
going to be next. So it's gonna be a long night for me.
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate being flexible with my schedule.
Of course,
over
of
here
course.
In, LA.
I always have to be flexible because most of the artists live at the other side of the globe, and here in Germany,
Sure.
it's 9 hours. I'm 9 hours ahead of you, so but it's still fine. I love doing this, and I'm glad to have you on, and glad to get a writer's perspective, because before I had for my German podcast, I had a director on, I had a casting agent on, I had an actor on, a movie critic on, and all that, and into the world of writing. And before we're going to start, I have a speed round for you as well. So
yes, let's do it.
Let's hear what you're going to come up with, the words I'm going to give you. Okay, let's start out. The first one will be your favorite Cobra Kai character.
Favorite Cobra Kai character, Dimitri.
Your favorite holiday destination.
Disneyland.
Your favorite wrap-up present from a shoot.
Oh man, we got for the end of season 3, they gave us bikes.
All right.
For Cobra Kai, which is wild. So I got a text from from the showrunner's assistants, who was like, "Hey, pick one," and there was 3 different bikes I could choose from.
Great.
It was rad.
You send me a picture. I will show that after we're going to do the speed round, so people see what the coolest wrap-up present was.
It is wild.
Samurai or ninja?
Oh man, samurai.
All right. You're more respectable, not a sneaky.
Yeah.
I see.
Also because I'm terrible at stealth in video games.
Okay. Your favorite Tarantino?
Oh man, that's a great question. I gotta say, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I thought I was gonna be really bored by that movie, but it was one of those movies where I was like, I want to live here. I want to keep watching this movie. Just the tone of it was just awesome. I also really love what is the name of it? The one with Pam Grier. Why am I blanking?
Jackie Brown? No.
Yes, Jackie Brown.
She's
Jackie
in there,
Brown.
right?
So I'd say Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and then Jackie Brown.
Okay.
Are my favorites.
Okay, that's fair enough. Not a Pulp Fiction in here, but last time I asked that, I got True Romance.
Oh, funny. That's great. I love Pulp Fiction. I also they're all great.
Yeah.
They're all so good. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, fair enough. What's your favorite Avenger?
Black Panther.
What's your favorite character overall? Like from all of the world, universe,
all
globe?
media?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Favorite character from all media. Man, I do love. Man, that's such a good question. From all media, man.
Darth Vader.
You know what? Tobias Bluth from Arrested Development is probably my favorite from all media.
All right.
I know I'm not supposed to. I know I was thinking too long, but
it's okay. It's a tough question.
Tough question.
Favorite author.
Favorite author. Favorite author. I actually love James A. Corey, who does let me see. James S. A. Corey, who does it's the 2 guys who do the Expanse books.
Oh, okay.
Which is the TV show's based off of.
Yeah.
Those books are so good. It's like light. It's like Game of Thrones, but not as dense. The books are not nearly as long, but it's good. I love that. Love those books.
Awesome. What's your favorite actor?
Favorite actor? I like Tom Hardy.
Actress?
Brie Larson.
Director?
Wes Anderson.
Alrighty. What's your favorite tale, myth, legend?
I love Norse mythology. That's kind of my favorite. I love that in like Arthurian legend. I love too.
Yeah.
So
what's like? Do you have like a specific one from those, or?
You know, I mean, it's so funny because like I love content that's based off that mythology, so it's always remixed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I never like I actually don't. It's so lame, but I actually don't really know the stories that they're based off super well. Like I know bits and pieces of like the tales and stuff, but you know, I love like I mean, you know, the Guinevere stuff I think is awesome. The Lady of the Lake is great stuff too. I love like Loki and you know all the little stories with you know like Odin and stuff.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I can't get more specifics. I just don't know.
But are you excited for the Green Knight?
Oh my god, I'm so excited for the Green Knight.
That trailer looked awesome, right?
Oh man, yeah, it just hit all my notes. I may be one of the few people, but I really kind of really like the King Arthur movie that guy
with Charlie Hunnam.
She did
with Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
It's not a good movie.
Interesting.
I think it is objectively it has issues, but subjectively for the things that I enjoy, I had an absolute blast watching it.
Guilty pleasure. Guilty pleasure. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly a guilty pleasure. Total guilty pleasure.
Okay, last piece for the speed round. Your favorite piece of your wife's artwork.
Oh man. Okay, she did for my birthday a couple years ago. Well, okay, she has a million incredible pieces of art, but my personal one is that she did this. We sold one of the first things I sold was like an animated show to Disney XD that was based off a comic book that I drew and wrote, and as like a gift for me and the two guys that I developed it with, Chris Yule and Alex Ashinger. It was a piece of that character named Quail, and it was just a gorgeous piece that like it was just really awesome. So that's one of my favorite pieces. She also did drawings of my Destiny characters because I play that video game, and I commissioned her to do those, and those are also amazing. So the stuff that she's drawn for me are my favorite. But I really love her alien piece that she just finished.
Yeah, that's amazing, right?
It's incredible. Those pieces are just absolutely stunning. I'm very lucky that I get sneak peeks of all her work.
I bet. Speaking of gaming for a sec here, Destiny.
Yeah.
Are you in a secret Destiny like gamers group?
I mean, I'm like a clan. I'm not in any group. I mean, I play with my younger brother who is a writer in Toronto for Business Insider. The two of us play Destiny pretty often.
Oh, okay.
But for the most part, I kind of just like I join up with whoever's kind of playing.
Yeah.
So I'm in no secret group.
Because
I just love to play.
Because I talked to a couple of poster artists before, and there's this one group of Canadians who are having like a secret group with multiple artists on there and playing. So that's like the fun stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I should try to find other people who might play it. I really just don't know anyone who else plays Destiny in my circle.
Nobody on set? Nobody on set or something?
I ran into there was one person I found out that played, but everyone has their own kind of interests. Like one of the other writers like plays the Star Wars mobile game. Joe Pierulli plays the Star Wars, like one of the mobile games that he's like deep into that with like he's got huge clans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And one of the other writers loves the Spider-Man game, but nobody's a true gamer like me who wants to do the raids and stuff like that. No, I'm just kidding. But
you're not okay. I would have taken you for that. I mean,
no. I mean, I play casually, but I'm not like a diehard. I mean, I like playing, but I'm
Yeah, I used to play Boar as well, and I was a huge RPG player. Like,
cool.
I have to say, I skipped World of Warcraft, didn't do that, but I played Star Wars, The Old Republic, the online game, and Lord of the Rings online. And when I played Star Wars, I had my own character, and I was always on a roleplay server. And I always crashed a cantina. I was like a bounty hunter and like talked trash to the people on there. And yeah, it was just my roleplay there.
That's awesome. I fell hard into World of Warcraft. Like, I was deep in that game. Not deep enough to like do raiding and stuff like that. but I was so deep into that game. And actually, when Nan and I were first dating in college, I would play World of Warcraft on my laptop, and she would play The Sims on her computer, and those were like some of our evenings.
Yeah, it's fun.
But yeah, I feel like I finally beat World of Warcraft by not wanting to play it anymore. That's like the only way you can really beat that game, is to be like, I'm done.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy when I played. I used to be one of the top players in PvP at some point in the world for Star Wars, and I was like those raids you were talking about. I was raiding in Lord of the Rings online, and for this one boss, we were the third guild in the world that beat the boss, and I was like, yeah, so I was
that's amazing,
really crazy on that.
A legend. I'm being interviewed by a legend here. This is crazy.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, video games are a lot of fun. So, but sadly, no time to play.
So I know.
I got into the what's it called? I got into Valheim and No Man's Sky. I love those survival games and like building my own houses and buildings. I think that's so fun. And
I gotta try No Man's Sky with all the updates. It's gorgeous. It's such a gorgeous game.
Yeah, I liked it a lot, but I think to actually have a story, you have to move a lot, and I think that annoyed me a little bit, because I wanted to build like on a planet, and I put in like a cheat mode to build my the perfect house and stuff like that. And I built this I had like a little hut on top, and then underneath I dug into the earth and built like an underground layer, and I had like a ramp that went up again, and like a bad car, like a bad car, and like went up there. So
that's awesome. I love that. Oh, that's great.
It's really fun stuff. Yeah, it kills hours, but it's so much fun.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, let's stop talking about me a little bit here and get back to you.
Yeah, okay.
I want to know where do you come from, basically? Where did it all start? How did you get into writing? And what would you have done, by the way, if you were not have become a writer?
So I always kind of knew I wanted to do something. I don't know. When I was in high school, I wasn't sure what I wanted to be. At one point, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, and I was like, I don't know about that. Like, I just get kind of queasy around blood and stuff a little bit. So I was like, and there was also way too much schooling for being a doctor. So I was like, all right, pass. And I know this might be kind of cheesy, but I went to go see the movie Memento at like a little art theater. I heard about a movie that basically is like in reverse, and I was obsessed with it. Because this was like, before trailers online and all that stuff. It's sort of like I just heard it through like I don't even know how I heard it through, like a magazine maybe. But I went to go see it, and it just blew my mind that someone could make a movie like that. And like, I was in high school, and it's a movie that, now you see the seams a little bit, but at the time, just the magic of like the experience totally captured me. And I walked out of that movie being like, I want to do that. So I started getting really into that. At the same time, I was also doing like a public access TV show with a friend of mine, this guy Brian Carroll in Connecticut, where I was growing up. So basically I knew I wanted to do films. I went to film school at Syracuse, where I met Nan, and we started dating in college. And my senior year, I realized I actually wanted to pivot to television, because TV was getting better and better, and it started being like you could make a movie that took place over seasons, and you have these incredible season finales, and just you're watching characters grow. And sorry, go ahead. Was there
like a TV show that stuck out for you in terms of that's what I want to do, like I don't know, Sopranos, for example, or something like that?
Yeah. It's so funny. We were watching a lot of like 6 Feet Under on HBO, and watching extras on the I don't know if it was BBC or what, but extras, and we got it off Netflix.
Yes.
We were getting DVDs of Netflix of extras and the British Office.
Yeah, people.
And just the way that like
you have to say that, I don't know, because there was never a Netflix DVD rental thing here in Germany. So for the people here, it's like there was that thing.
Yeah, it was. They were sending us DVDs, like so, and at the time, it was a friend of mine told me about, like, oh hey, there's this thing called Netflix where they have all these rare Criterion movies that are really hard to find and stuff like that. So that was how I started getting into that. So I started doing TV shows, and so it was like 6 Feet Under and extras, and and the British office and the American office too, which was starting to really hit its prime then. And I took like some TV classes just like about the golden age of television with this professor, Todd Sedano, who's awesome. And yeah, so I came out to LA. My cousin, I have a cousin who's a executive, or she was a executive producer, I should say.
By the way,
she was doing like this. Sorry, go ahead.
But by the way, congratulations to your long-term deal. I saw that you signed it last month.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I have an overall at Sony now, which is wild. It's keeping me busy, I'll tell you that. But yeah, so anyway, I came out here. My cousin was nice enough to pass my resume around to some places, and my first job was like an assistant at a TV development company where I learned like how people pitch and stuff like that. And they sold a show called Good Vibes to MTV, and I was hired as the showrunner's assistant, where I basically worked under the showrunner and handled his schedules, but got to sit in the room and pitch jokes and kind of watch the writing process kind of happen. And then that showrunner brought me onto his next show that he was show running with the creator Grant DeCurnian. It was a show called Chozen on FX, which I think you can see in the border.
I'll pull it up for the people while you're talking. I pull up the poster.
Yeah, so Chozen was just this like hysterical animated show. The writer,
I loved it.
Creator,
I love that show. By the way,
it's so funny.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Oh, awesome. Yeah, Grant, the creator, Grant DeCurnian, is like one of the funniest dudes I've ever met. He's just so funny. He's such a great writer and so great at jokes and dialogue.
I was really sad when it was over.
From him. Oh, that's so nice of you to say. I was super sad too. It was such a funny show, and I love being a part of it. And it was my first credit, my first writing credit. Was a story by on one episode, and then I got to write we had a season of like 10 episodes, and then we did an extra 3 that were going to be released in the summer or on the DVD. So I got to write one of those, which was an incredible experience.
Yeah. How was it different from like when you started out? Was it like getting this chance? Was it did you put a lot of pressure on you, or did you know I can do this and like no worries at all?
writing you mean writing the episode?
Yeah.
Writing the script?
Getting like, I think,
well, it's funny.
That's your first, that was the first actual writing you did on a big like network TV show, right?
Yeah. First big writing. So for the story it's so funny. We were trying to break stories, and we talked about this one idea about like, what if he brought his, jail, commerce, being able to make deals and selling things for cigarettes. What if he brought that into the college that he was staying at? And I loved that idea so much that night I just like wrote an outline and was like, here, I don't know if this is helpful, but I know we're behind on stories and I love this idea. So I just did it. And they were so thankful. We a lot of it changed from what I wrote, and another writer took the script because I was the assistant at the time. So I couldn't like really go off on script. But they were so awesome to even give me a credit on that. So I kind of like took my shot, which was definitely a risk, but I feel like the creators and the showrunners were supportive enough that it was cool. And writing the episode was like, I definitely felt the pressure. I was definitely very nervous. I texted all the writers from Good Vibes, the previous season, for tips on like how to attack it and if they had any recommendations, and like they gave me great advice. And like some of the advice, especially for like animated comedies, it was more about like making sure the scenes were in the right order and that the pacing was right, and knowing that like it's all going to get rewritten, but at least making it easy enough for us to rewrite it was kind of the, I wanted to make it good, but I also wanted to make sure it like was easy to rewrite. That was like the advice I got for this. And, it all got rewritten, but it was a blast getting the opportunity.
How would you compare it from what you've learned in university to what the reality is? Was it totally different? And how is it now, by the way? Is it still changing?
I think it's interesting because like when I was in college, my scriptwriting class, he was I don't remember my teacher's name, unfortunately, but he was a good teacher, and we talked a lot about like subtext and stuff like that, and more about formatting. But I felt like I learned the most about how to write just like sitting in writers' rooms, watching stories get broken, seeing what jokes got picked for what reason. And I think like the biggest thing I learned from writing, which was something I learned actually in Cobra Kai, excuse me, was headspace, where when you're writing, and Cobra Kai is much more dramatic than like Chozen or Good Vibes was, but the idea of like you're tracking a character's headspace in every scene and every episode. So you're thinking about like, what is the character's head coming into the scene? How is their headspace at the end of the scene going into the next one? And a lot of it is like, well, where do we want their headspace to be? Do we want Johnny to be angry by the end of this scene? Do we want him to be happy? Do we want him to be nervous about his relationship with Miguel? Like, these are all things we have to think about. So you're looking at the scene and thinking about like, okay, well, how do we get from point A to point B in the writing of that scene? You know what I mean? So that's something that like I picked up on the job. I learned a lot about, like, from Tom Brady, who was the showrunner for Good Vibes and Chozen. I learned a lot. He wrote on The Simpsons.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot about like joke pacing and feeling when you're like, oh, we need a joke here, or this joke isn't working, and you know, ending scenes on jokes and stuff like that. So like, I feel like I just learned a lot. And then I was an assistant on Atypical on Netflix, and on that show, I learned so much about like how to break a season, and this is something I've done in every show now, and I'm going to do on my own shows, where basically this is what I did on Cobra Kai. This is like my main job, was to make a giant grid of every single character and every single episode, and kind of almost like filling out like, okay, what do we know is happening in these episodes for these characters? You know, like, okay, like in season 3, we know Daniel's gonna, you know, his business is gonna be in trouble, and he's gonna go to Okinawa, and he's gonna learn this. Like, we were filling out that grid, and then we'd see where we'd had open spaces and be like, okay, well, now we know what we need to fill in. We know we don't know this necessarily, and, you know, stuff like that. So, but I learned that on Atypical. That was the first show I saw that did that.
So I can imagine that as being like to make up the whole character and the backstory. That's what you try to do, to like fill in those blank spaces, or.
No, not even backstory necessarily. It's more like, here's what this character is doing in episode 1.
Okay.
Here's what this character is doing in episode 2. We don't know what they're doing in episode 3 quite yet, but we know what they're doing in episode 4. And then as we're breaking episodes, it's more of like a giant seasonal look to just track what the show's looking like for that season, and if we have ideas for the future, where we want the show to go, stuff like that. If that makes sense.
Yeah. It makes sense totally. Looking from the perspective that you said you had different jobs throughout the years, and you also had different jobs on when you started on Cobra Kai and where you are now. What are those jobs, and what does it entail?
Yeah, so the way it works so when I was an assistant, I was a writer's PA, which is basically you're getting lunch. You're getting lunch and you're doing administrative work, and sometimes you sit in the room to listen. It's like low man on the totem pole, but you're part of the team and you're kind of learning on the job. Showrunner's assistant is you are basically handling the showrunner schedule. You're keeping them on track, because the showrunner has like, they might be, you know, writing one episode, but they might have to be on set for another episode and look at post of another episode. Like, you're just kind of juggling a lot of that stuff, especially once production's going. Writer's assistant is you're in the writer's room and you're taking down notes of everything. You're just writing down all the jokes that people are saying, ideas that we love, bolding things. Sometimes you might card stuff, which means that like when we're breaking a story, we like literally write on index cards every beat of the story. They might be doing that, organizing all that, helping writers like, oh, hey, like can you send me this draft, or can you proof this? Like that's a lot of that kind of stuff. But being a writer's assistant is usually the next step to becoming a staff writer, which is which is what my first job was on Cobra Kai. I started off as a staff writer. And this has kind of gone away. It really depends on the writer's room. But when you're a writer, there's different like levels, you know, like staff writer is usually the lowest level. Then there's story editor, executive story editor, I think co-producer, supervising producer, co-executive producer, and then executive producer. So the lower end ones, typically like in network shows, you might be more there to like pitch jokes or throw out ideas, but it's really the higher up writers that are kind of leading the conversation, the showrunner and the co-EPs. So when I was on Cobra Kai, I kind of, you know, took a step back and was still involved, but was kind of like more just being supportive and just trying to like pitch ideas when nobody had ideas. But what was so awesome about my bosses, John, Josh, and Hayden, the big three of Cobra Kai, they believe in like best idea wins. It doesn't matter. They don't care about writing levels or anything like that. So it's more of an equal footing. I just know that some shows do care about that level stuff, but it's more about like experience. And the more that you're writing on shows, the more you kind of bump up levels.
What would you say was your favorite position? Because like, for example, I talked to somebody from the creative side in terms of like poster design and artist wise. They didn't like to be an art director, like which get the higher pay basically in the end. They rather like to be the designer illustrator. You know, is there something for you?
So for me, I mean, it's a little different because like I'm kind of doing the same job at every level, but because I'm higher right now, I'm a co-executive producer on season. I'll be a co-EP on season 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was a co-EP on season 3. No, wait, sorry. No, I was a supervising producer on season 3. Mm-hmm. I'll be a co-EP on season 4. And I've loved being a co-EP because one, I mean, it's more responsibility, definitely more pay, which is always very nice. But also, the creators, you know, John Hurwitz, Josh Heald, and Hayden Schlossberg, they've been so supportive and letting myself and the other co-EPs sit in on post and post production, helping out with edits, giving notes on cuts. We've been, you know, on set. I've been on set. I've been an on-set writer the past 3 seasons. So starting with season 2, season 3, and now season 4. I've been on set with the other 2 co-EPs, Joe Pierulli and Luan Thomas.
How's that?
Who were on the show.
Yeah, how's that working on the set then? How's that for you? Is that totally different from being in a writer's room? And
yes, it's extremely different. So in a writer's room, it's more about like my job as a co-EP is to help lead the conversation when the creators aren't there, and because they're so busy, they have other shows that they're producing and developing and pitching. It's up to us to kind of keep the conversation going, to know what we need to do in the room to break, like if we're breaking stories, making sure we're breaking the story, and then bringing it to our bosses and pitching it to them and hearing their notes, and then doubling back and kind of, you know, making sure the train is moving on time. On production, on set, it's kind of similar, but it's less about like the actual. I mean, we're still doing writing, we're doing rewrites of episodes, you know, as production's going, but we're also on set helping maintain the tone of the show. Like, because myself and Joe and Luan have been on the show for as long as we have, we know pretty intimately what the tone of Cobra Kai is, and we know what works, what doesn't. We know the context of the scenes that we wrote. We understand why, you know, we made these decisions in the room. So when everyone asks us questions, whether it's costuming or props or the director that's directing the episode that we're shooting that week, like, we have answers as to like, that is a great idea, but it doesn't quite match the tone of what we're thinking, and helping compromise and because it's very collaborative. But we're really just on set to be the people who can answer questions when the creators can't be there. And it's a very exhausting job, but it's a blast. It's like you're pitching jokes, you're you know, problem solving on the fly, you're making quick decisions, you're watching the show get created, you're helping you're talking with the actors about, you know, they're giving us notes about the scripts that they've just read, and we're kind of interfacing with them. We're giving them, you know, thoughts on performance and ways they can, you know, oh, that was amazing, could we try one like this? You know, we're helping the director with that a little bit, just to make sure that it feels consistent, because the directors are all different for the episodes.
Yeah,
so
I see.
Yeah.
How was it for your family when you told them, I'm going to be a writer? Were there support there? Was there like understanding?
I was very lucky that my parents were extremely supportive. I mean, my parents are huge movie buffs. They're big TV buffs. Like, they watch everything literally every week. Every weekend we would go to the movies, whether it was a good movie or a bad movie, we would go. And it was always awesome. And so when I told them what I wanted to do, they were very supportive, because they saw how passionate I was about it. Great. And I don't know if I feel like you may have asked me earlier, and if not, I apologize, but you asked me if I was going to do any other job besides writing. Yeah. And I think, and I honestly don't think I could. Like, I kind of put all my eggs in this one basket a little bit, which is, you know, a big risk, but I feel pretty strongly that, like, if you really care about something and you put all of your effort and all of your attention on that one thing, it's not going to be easy, but it's harder to fail, I feel like. And I think some people who are completely passionate about writing don't make it, which is really tough. It's like really, really hard. But the people who I've seen that have struggled the most are the ones who are just sort of like not as focused. Like, oh, I think I kind of want to do podcasts. I kind of want to write. You know what? I kind of want to act. Oh, I kind of want to do this. Like, maybe I kind of want to get into this. Like, it's just sort of, it's just harder. And honestly, a lot of it is luck. Like, I got lucky, like, that I was in the right place in the right time for a lot of this stuff. Yeah. And I did have like a family member that, pass my resume along. But I've worked hard. Like I write as much as I can. I'm constantly thinking about new ideas. I have like a ton of stuff that I'm always like, I like having plate spinning. So I feel like part of the ways I've succeeded is because I writing is like not just my job. It's like I love it. It's my hobby. It's like all I think about. And, I'm not really into sports or other hobby stuff. Like basically my interests are writing, watching TV and movies, and video games, and like there are other little things I enjoy too outside of that. But those are like my three main hobbies, and
I know that feeling.
That's like kind of it. Like yeah, so it's like all encompassing. So right, I feel like if I couldn't write, I don't know what I would be doing. And luckily things have worked out, and I'm able to make a living doing it, which is awesome, and I feel very lucky.
Did you always imagine writing in terms of for TV or movies, or did you also imagine like doing literature or things like that?
I always loved dialogue. Like I always loved reading dialogue in books. I always loved I would love to write a book someday. I have an idea for a book that I kind of like I tinker with occasionally, but like I love script writing because you're just writing dialogue for the most part. I mean, you are writing action, and I've gotten better at writing action, but like I just love dialogue. I've just like have always kind of like had a bit of an ear for it and listening, and that's just something I've always paid attention to. So I would love to write a book maybe someday, but it's so hard to sit down and write that kind of thing. Whereas a script, I feel like it takes a lot of work, but it's more in my wheelhouse. So I feel more comfortable writing scripts and pitches and stuff like that. Yeah. So,
but it's awesome. Tagging on to that is I was wondering how is the process? How do you write? Is it, I don't know, does ideas come under the shower while you were singing or whatever? Like how do you come up? Like where do you write?
So I do some writing in the shower in my head. That's like kind of my like thinking about ideas and kind of looking at new ideas and kind of reworking it. I used to do writing at coffee shops before the pandemic. That was where I would do most of my writing. It's mostly like I kind of am working. It's almost like the way I work is I have like a bunch of ideas that are in the back of my head. Like, okay, this is an idea that's not quite fleshed out, but I think there's something there. But then if I have like a really firm idea, like, okay, I know what I want this to be, I start fleshing that out. Like, what does the first episode look like? Who are all the characters? What is the plot? What is the hook? What does the season look like? What are other seasons like? I make a document that kind of like is what I love about the show. Here are all the characters that are important. Here's the like main idea. Like, so here's the first episode. Here are other episode ideas. And I usually find that like if I sorry.
Is that the like? Can I imagine as a log line and?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like a log line. It's what I call a pitch document.
Okay.
Because this is like what I would go out and pitch someone. Like, here's how I would pitch it. And then sometimes like right now I'm working on a original pilot that's like, okay, now that I have the idea, now I'm going to start like working on the pilot and writing that and trying to get that down and stuff like that. Right now it's like a little bit different because I have things in development that I'm working on. So it's more like I'm focusing just on the pitch document, just on like, here's what we love about it. Here's what's so exciting. And, and I'm going back and forth with, the producers that I'm working with on that. But it's a lot of like, usually when I write, if I'm writing a pilot, I like for Twisted Metal, which is one of the shows I'm writing on. I basically was like, I had pitched them a pilot already and they kind of knew what it was. So that was easy. So what I did was I basically wrote an outline. We went back and forth on notes in the outline, which is basically like scene by scene, right? Here's the stuff that happens in this scene. Here's the stuff that happens in this scene. Here's some jokes, stuff like that. Then I'll write a vomit draft of the pilot where it's just like, here's the worst version. This version is terrible. The jokes are bad. There's filler dialogue. The action isn't right, but it's just a skeleton to get it down, because I find the hardest part is to just get the script written. So once it's down, then I go back and I rewrite it. And that's like the fun part, because it'll be like, oh, hey, the script's done. Now I can like really have fun with this and write jokes and write action and stuff like that. And I do a few passes of that, just kind of making it like I've learned the hardest thing for me was like kind of trusting my instinct, where like transitioning from like when I first started writing, it was like, oh, I don't like this, but it's good enough. And then watching that joke or something just fail. And I've gotten to the point where if my gut is telling me this doesn't feel right, I trust myself enough to look at it and change it and not be afraid to delete a joke that isn't working even though I love the joke, or change a scene, completely uproot a scene, because it isn't working. Like, so that's kind of my process. Like, it's just about it's like sculpting a little bit, you kind of have a block of an idea that you're just kind of reworking it as much as you can.
How much you write a day? Is it like, I don't know. Can you say that?
Yeah. I mean, it depends. Like right now, I'm with the overall deal. I'm very busy, so I'm writing most of the day. I'm writing from like, my day is usually like I do a little bit of exercising in the morning on like a little exercise bike, and I eat breakfast. So I'm usually starting my day around 10. So I write from like 10 to 4 o'clock usually, with like maybe a break in between for lunch. That's usually like the most amount of writing I do a day. But that's because I'm like, sorry, go ahead.
What comes out of it in terms of like, is it 5 paragraphs? Is it 1 paragraph? Is it 5 pages?
It's so funny. It really depends. Like right now, I'm not doing as much script writing because I'm pitching, I'm developing a bunch of projects. I have Twisted Metal that's in development. I have 2 other projects that I can't really talk about, but they're also in active development. And right now it's a lot of like I'm reworking the pitch documents. So basically I'm getting notes from Sony TV and the producers for what, depending on the project, and I'm basically going through the pitch document and putting the notes in. So it's not really like at this point it's a lot of rewriting, so it's not specific paragraphs. Like on a good day, if I am on top of it and I'm working on my draft, like if I'm script writing, my goal is to usually get through like an act of a script a day. Like if I'm like just vomit drafting, like if I feel like I'm making a good pace, I got through act 1 today. Okay, I feel good about that. If I'm making a bad pace, like today wasn't a good day, I got through like half of it. I got through like I got to 5 pages. So usually my goal is to get to like 30 something pages of like script writing over 3 days, which is like very, very ambitious. But usually it'll take me, like if I'm really, really writing a script, it'll take me like a week to get the vomit draft in shape, and then another week to kind of rewrite it. So that's like if I'm kind of taking my time. If I'm under deadline, it might be a little bit quicker, but that's like kind of usually what I'm doing. So
okay, cool. Is there a certain time of the day you really like to write? I don't know, because like I heard people like they really love to write like from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. or something like that.
Oh, funny. Yeah, now I've just like, now that I have I have a kid. Before I had a kid, I would write at night. I would work at night, like, because I would have day jobs, So I would be like, okay, I'm home. I'm going to do some working. And that was when Nan was like, doing a lot of art and stuff too. So it was, different. But now with a kid, I just like anytime I have a chance to work is a good time to work.
Okay.
So I don't have a specific favorite time, but I do like, I love working during the day, but at night, I don't love working at night if I don't have to, because I like to have, I found that if I work at night too much, I get burned out and my writing is just not very good. So I like to have that night to watch TV with Nan and
calm down and stuff like that.
Calm down, rethink, play a video game that I just don't have to think about, or a video game that might inspire me. And then I usually go to bed and I read like a couple pages from a book and then fall asleep. So I like to keep the night a little bit sacred.
Do you have like a certain show you really like to watch to calm down, or a movie or something like that? Is that
honestly it's whatever we're kind of watching. Like the way we watch television, we don't really have like, we're not juggling a bunch of shows. Like Nan and I are kind of, we binge through an entire show and then we move on to the next one.
Okay.
So we just finished. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But in like watching like Succession or something like that, that's really, really like tugging on you. I mean, that's not coming down, I'd say. Or is can you calm down?
It is for me because I don't have to think about like my own show or my own thing that I'm writing. It's sort of like I'm getting to watch someone else make television, and when we're watching good television, there's nothing quite like it. So for me, it's really pleasurable. Like I enjoy the tension. I enjoy feeling the emotions. I enjoy getting sometimes I'll get inspired and I'll write little ideas and be like, oh, that's a funny, like, it's just a way to kind of turn off my work brain and just kind of enjoy. Yeah. So like right now we just finished watching Peaky Blinders and now we're watching For All Mankind on Apple, and it's just like popcorn, good, enjoyable television.
My girlfriend never can watch anything like that. She always like, she can come down with like Friends, Big Bang Theory, something like that, something that doesn't fry your brain, basically, at the end of the day.
Totally get that. Yeah, no, I don't know why. I just like I just enjoy like that just when there's great television, there's just something really enjoyable about that I feel like I'm doing work.
Do you have a TV show or a movie that you would say, oh, that's written so perfectly, I wish I would have done that?
For comedy, definitely Arrested Development.
Right.
I think Arrested Development is like one of the best comedies ever written. It's brilliant. It's hysterical. The jokes still land. Like, it's also just great, character drama. Like, there's good, not character drama, but like, you understand the characters. They're clear. You understand the relationships. It's just really, really good. So I'd say that show. And I would have loved to write on that show.
Okay. And you have a movie as well, or that you thought, oh, that was so well written?
Oh man, I love Wes Anderson's movies.
Yeah.
They're so specific. They're definitely, an inspiration for my work, at least my personal work. So maybe Wes Anderson movies I would have loved to have written, but they're so singular. They're so good.
Is your favorite Life Aquatic?
Yeah, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou is my favorite.
Okay, why is that?
I think it is. I just thought I actually this might be this might be a questionable opinion, but I think it's maybe his funniest movie.
All right.
It's like so goofy and so weird,
I
and
love
there's
that
like
movie.
it has these. It's so funny, and there's like just the stuff with like the dolphins, like the dolphins always watching them is just so funny and weird, and like I do love like animals and sea animals and stuff like that, and just like there's like a fantasy element to all of it too, which is very cool, and it's just like such an odd, sweet, very melancholy little movie. So I love that one. That one's my favorite for sure.
Alrighty. Speaking of favorite movies, what was the last show or movie that you've watched?
So last show, we just finished season 1 of For All Mankind, which is incredible.
Yeah, the second
really
season is
that.
also really great. I started watching it,
Yes.
but I didn't finish it yet. I'm like in the middle.
Awesome. We're starting it. I think we're going to start watching that tonight. So that's the latest TV show we watched, which is great. And then the latest movie, we just watched Mitchell's versus the Machines on Netflix.
Oh my God. I mean, you work for Sony, but I don't work for Sony, but I can tell you this is such a great movie. It's one of the best movies of the year. One of the best movies of the year, easily.
I totally agree. I thought it was awesome. It's actually funny, for season 2 of Cobra Kai, our offices were actually in Sony Pictures Animation.
I was just about to ask that because I heard that on the other podcast. So yeah.
Yeah. So we actually like walked through when they were doing Spider-Verse at the time. So they had all the Spider-Verse artwork, and they had artwork for what would be later revealed to be Mitchell's versus the Machines. And I was like, wow, this movie looks wild. I wonder if it's ever going to get made. So it was wild to like see all that stuff, and then now see. Wait, that movie got finished.
I'm really happy that Sony or that Netflix bought it and they changed the title, because Connected or whatever it was not a good title.
Not a good. I agree. Mitchell's vs. the Machine is a much better title, and it was it was such a good movie. Yeah. I loved that movie.
Everything worked on that. I mean, it was like, I don't know, it was Mike Miranda's like first movie, and I think he put like everything he had in there, and like it shows. You feel it. So good.
Yeah, that's the thing too, that like he did such a good job doing that thing that like everyone says like writing advice is to write what you know. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's like kind of the most typical writing advice, but I actually think that's like kind of a misnomer. It's like, I think it's more use what you know. Like, I think you could write whatever you want. If you want to write sci-fi, you don't have to have gone to space to do it. It's more about like applying your emotions into what you're writing and making that feel relatable and like things that only you understand, whether it's like addiction or your family, stuff like that. Like, I think that's why Mitchell's vs. the Machines works so well, is clearly he's writing from like, everyone has stories about their family and about traveling and growing up and having to leave your family. And I think like that movie does a good job like hitting those very, very personal emotions without, that feel relatable with it, while it's still, it's great.
My girlfriend wrote, when she applied for university, she wrote this short story about her sister and her when they were really young. They wanted to go to the pool, and she's from Tehran, Iran. And it's like really hard to like get into the pool, and like all the stuff. There's not that much around there. And she really wanted to go. And it's like, the story was so heartfelt. And I always, like we have to pressure her a little bit here in this case, because she has to make that story a short movie or something like that. It's such a great thing.
That sounds amazing.
She should do it.
That'd be great. Is that what's the kind of stuff she likes to write?
I think she like she tries to go for comedy, and then it turns into drama.
That's great. Drama's fun, man.
It is,
like
but I think that's what she likes to do, and she's like having the immigrant background and all of that. She's like has like a lot of those stories, and that relates obviously to Germany a lot, and especially Berlin. There's a lot the potential and stuff going on, and all the projects he's working on right now. I think they're all really interesting, and I really love to see what she's going to do with them, and if something's going to get picked up.
Good luck to her, man.
Yeah, I will tell her. She's going to watch it probably because I told her, yeah, cool. I'm interviewing with writers, so yeah, you need to watch it. I'm just doing this for you. So yeah, favorite movie and TV show. I mean, TV show, Arrested Development, I'll take it. Definitely.
Yeah, Arrested Development's my favorite TV show for sure. My favorite movies, I have a few. I really love Mad Max. Fury Road is just like, and these are movies that I'm just like, these are movies I could just watch over and over and over again.
Like all the Mad Max part, or just Fury Road?
I think Fury Road's my favorite. I think if I had to rank them, I would go Fury Road, Road Warrior, Thunderdome, Mad Max. I think that's how I would.
Are you excited for Furiosa?
Yes, very excited. I hope they find a way to include Charlize Theron in the new one, because she's amazing. She's so good.
I hope so. I was kind of sad when I heard that she is not going to be Furiosa, but I think if they're going to do because it should span about a certain time, not only one day like the other movies did, and maybe if it's like a longer time, maybe we can have her back for a couple moments.
I hope so. She was so good, and she like defined that role. But I love Anya Taylor-Joy too, so she's awesome. So I'm not like like, okay, I'm still excited about it. I think George Miller is such an incredible director and creator, and definitely big inspiration. So I love that. I also love Dumb and Dumber as like one of my favorite comedies. I think it's just like, I haven't watched it in a bit, so I wonder how much of the jokes still last. But the last time I watched it, it's just such a perfect script. It's just so funny. And Jim Carrey's great. Yeah,
indeed. So I wanted to know what kind of IP or field do you want to work on as a writer, in terms like, I don't know, do you want to make a Marvel movie? Write a Marvel movie? Is that something
I would love to make? First of all, Marvel and Star Wars, I would love to make those. That would be amazing.
By the way, I don't know.
Yes.
Keep talking. I'll get something. I'll get something to show you.
Oh, please. Yeah. Show me. So I love those. But if I had to pick like an IP outside of the big ones, I would pick. Oh my God, is that Baby Yoda?
Yeah, I got this. I got this today.
Oh, that's great!
It came today.
I love that.
I did a little unboxing earlier, and there's the Mandalorian.
Nice.
The Mandalorian over here comes with it, and I got the life sizes over here.
Oh, that's great! I love the Mandalorian show is so great. Like, I hope they do more shows of that ilk. That's more about fleshing out the Star Wars world.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick an IP that was not Marvel or Star Wars, because I would just immediately do those if I was asked, or if I had the chance to pitch, I would love to do Men in Black.
Men in Black. Okay. Interesting.
I loved the first Men in Black movie so much.
Classic.
And the other two were classic. And the other two were like fine. I haven't even seen the newest one because it just did not feel. It just felt too.
No need to.
It was felt okay. It just wasn't. I just never got a chance to watch it. But like, I love the Men in Black world. I love the aliens. I love the lore and I think like I read one of the Men in Black books. I love the animated show. And I would just love a chance to kind of do my take of Men in Black, basically. I don't have a take, but I would love to do Men in Black. That'd be a blast.
Awesome. That sounds really good. So coming to one of the questions that is more, I mean, you kind of like hinted on tips for beginners, but is there anything you want to like shout out to the people out there? Is there something they like when they start out they should do?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think a lot of it is like, I mean, if you're just starting out, the best advice I could give is to just sort of like pick your favorite movie and try to track down the script for it. Like, not only will you kind of like understand that's how I kind of taught myself how formatting a script works is I watched scenes of like X-Men. the movie and found the script for it and was like reading the script and looking at the movie and seeing how things were different and, stuff like that. Excuse me. So I think like that is like that's like basic starting out stuff where like just to understand how scripts are written and like why things are different, like thinking about like, okay, the dialogue's different. Why was it different here? Oh, it feels more natural. Like, seeing that.
There was the script from Spirited Away. My girlfriend tackled that in university because she loves that movie. It's I think it's her favorite movie or one of her favorite movies. And you can't do anything with a script because the script is totally shit. Like you can't do anything from it. It's like so off and like so basically raw and nothing going on there. And the film is just what it is. But it's crazy how different it is.
And animation. It is different, and also animation is so much more different in terms of script writing with like because it is so much more collaborative and people are pitching jokes in the storyboard and stuff like that. So like I can't even imagine what that script must have looked like. Other advice I could give is sort of like, honestly the best advice I can give is don't be a jerk. Be friendly, be welcoming, be humble. Because like on one of the first shows I worked on, I was definitely like I was just like, I wanted to be a writer when I was hired to be an assistant. And I think because I wasn't a good assistant, I wasn't asked back on, from some of the producers. Some of the producers didn't like me. And I feel like when you're good, when you're easy to work with and people want to work with you, more opportunities appear, I think. If you're hard to work with, I think like you'll have a harder time of it. And I think like if you're good and you're helpful and you're humble and you want to work with others, it just makes it a little bit easier. And I think it goes a long way. I feel like other advice, I think like I mentioned the headspace thing, like on the actual craft of writing, I think like, think about your character's headspace, think about like, how does the character change from the beginning of the story to the end? Like, that's something I'm still working on. I kind of forget about that. Like, try to remember that's your like skeleton, and if you want that to be like the character's going to be this by the end, you have to like stay consistent with that, because when you don't hold yourself accountable with like your characters, the story doesn't work as well. I think people see through the cracks a little bit. I think like definitely don't get attached to one project. Like, don't feel like, oh, this script is the one script, this is my masterpiece, this is the only thing I'm ever going to work on. Like, I think Stephen King had this great book on writing, which I think is actually if you want to be a scriptwriter, that's actually a great book to read, because he talks a lot about, like, it's more about literature, but you're still, like, there's a lot of, like, tips that I picked up, your, like, toolbox, and this idea of, like, just constantly working on things, like, for me, I think I mentioned earlier, I have, like, 4 plates spinning, and I have ideas, ready to go next, because if one falls apart, I want to have something else to work on, I don't want to feel hard. I mean, you're going to hear no a lot in the industry, and if you only have one idea and that idea fails and you have nothing else to back you up on, you're kind of screwed. Whereas if you have other ideas you're more excited about, not only is it helpful for your career, but also you're like, well, it's okay that one didn't work out. I have these 3 other ideas that I'm more excited about now anyway. And it just kind of helps your own mental state. And also it's just like how I like to work. And I just have people who are just constantly working on that one script. I just find that that's all they're thinking about. They're just like, I'm doing another pass on the script that you read 5 years ago. Whereas it's like, well, you should have something new. You should be excited about a new idea, because you're growing as a writer, and you can't just rewrite forever. At a certain point, you kind of have to move on. So
yeah, and I mean, you got to go sometimes with the times. I'd say that times are changing, like circumstances, culture, community, and stuff like that. So exactly,
and also someone might have the same idea. Like you might see your idea pop up, and you're like, okay, well, I just spent all this time on this one idea, and I just got made into a movie. It happens. It does, and it's frustrating. But yeah, you just kind of have to keep moving forward. Like, I think it helps to just have a clear goal and to know what you want to be, and to try your best to just hit that, and use every job as an opportunity. Like, a lot of people want to just be writers immediately, but sometimes it's actually more helpful to get assistant jobs and learn the craft that way. Like, some of the best writers I've worked with are writers that were writers assistants like me, and learned how to write from writers' rooms, and learned how the business works being a development assistant. And I think like I was guilty of it. I wanted to rush into being a writer, and that was when I failed the most. Whereas when I kind of took every experience as an opportunity to meet writers, learn from writers, and learn how they break TV shows, I found myself becoming a better writer because I was like an apprentice, as opposed to just worrying about like, oh, this is the show I'm going to sell, you know?
All right. Let's come to some random questions and questions from the audience.
Great.
First question from the audience was, did you do any like karate on set?
No, I my body is shaped like a pear, and I am not athletically inclined, so I do not do anything on set. I did I did not do any karate. No, I've been thinking about like asking if I could train with them, but especially with COVID this year, I could not do any.
But did you do like, I don't know,
but
like split some wood or some stuff like that?
Split some woods. No, I did. They did let me break a cinder block, like a fake cinder block from last season. So I did get to use one of those. But other than that, no.
That's awesome. But you have a video of that?
No, you know what? You know what we did get to do is that we in season 3 at the end of the in the finale we had that like awesome fight in the house in LaRusso's house, and there's a moment where where Hawk takes like a glass ashtray and smashes it over a dude's head. Yeah. So someone got to smash one of those on me.
Okay.
So Hayden, I have video of Hayden smashing glass on my head.
Oh, that's nice.
So I can send that to you if you want it.
Okay. One of the questions, I used a question from the audience, the best wrap-up gift, and I pulled it up now, the bike. So for all the people to see. So you picked the gray one as well? Is that your choice or?
That's the one I picked. Yeah. So it is currently in my garage. It's gorgeous. I can't believe I got a bike. It was funny though, because the bike arrived and it wasn't built. It was like in a box. Yeah. And I don't know how, I didn't want to build a bike that I would be on. So I had to bring it to a bike store to build it for me, because I just don't I have no idea I just am not that kind of person. So the bike store built it. It was awesome. Perfect. But then I couldn't fit it in my car.
Oh,
so
no.
I basically had to have them take it apart so that I could fit it in my car and then bring it back and then loosely put it back together. Okay. It was a total nightmare. But the bike was definitely the best gift I got. It was rad. I've also gotten great shirts and sweatshirts and stuff like that.
Is there a relation to the show with the bike, or?
No. I mean, it's just like kind of a cruiser, like an LA Beach cruiser. Yeah. So I think that was the idea.
Okay.
And also I think the idea was like, we did have, Hawk and some of the Cobra Kais on motorcycles that year. Okay. So I think it was kind of referencing that sort of stuff.
Okay, fair enough. One of the audience members wanted to ask, what is like to work on Cobra Kai? What was it like for you?
It's awesome. It's like my bosses, John, Josh, and Hayden, are like the best bosses I've had. Some of the best bosses I've had. So I've been lucky. I've had a lot of really great bosses, but they're just super like. We text all the time. We're on a text chain with me and the other co-EPs, and we just kind of, text each other Cobra Kai memes and exciting things that are happening, like the posters, the Mondo posters and the vinyl with the great score. They're very open to ideas. Like I think it's like a very welcoming show. We work really hard. Like we are working, we're working all the time on edits and making sure the show's as good as it can be by going, draft after draft after draft on the script and rewriting. We're rewriting on the fly, and it's a very, it's a very hardworking show. We all work really, really hard on Cobra Kai, but it's such a fun show, and the fans are like the best. Like the Cobra Kai fans are so like supportive and know the show backwards and forwards, and we're really happy when things that got us excited in the writers' room get fans excited. Like. Things that we were like last season, spoiler alert, but with Ali coming back, just us being pumped about those reveals and being excited in the room and thinking about how our fans are going to be pumped too. So it's a blast to work on.
What is your most favorite moment in the show, and what was your most favorite moment on the set? Maybe it's the same, but who knows?
So my favorite moment in the show is probably, I mean, if I can use a moment that was like in an episode I wrote, my favorite moment is the letter reading scene in season 3, where Kumiko reads the Mr. Miyagi's letter to Daniel. I'm just super proud of that scene.
Is that in Molting or Pulpo?
It's in season 3, so it's in the right path.
Yeah, okay, you're right.
It's in the right path. And and honestly, season 3 in general, I was super proud of.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt a lot of ownership for a lot of it, and I was really proud of how it turned out. And I love that. I mean, that scene is my favorite scene. I'd say, just because I'm really proud of it. As for favorite behind the scenes scene, so one of the things that we talked about in the writer's room was this idea of the bell ringing girl from the second Karate Kid movie coming back and helping like save Daniel's business. And that was something I was super excited about. We were all excited about just the potential of bringing like a relatively minor character, but like having that character mean a lot to Daniel, and affecting his life in a positive way. And so we when we shot that scene, we were in a hotel, like we shot that in Atlanta. We actually shot most of Okinawa in Atlanta, which was wild. But we shot, the stuff with that actress, so we had a moment where it was Ralph Macchio, Tamlin, and then the actress who played the bell ringing girl, whose name escapes me, and I apologize about that. But so the three of them saw each other. So Tamlin and Ralph had already shot some scenes together, but just seeing this girl who is now a woman, she's grown up, but like Ralph had taken care of her on set when she was like a little girl and had watched out for her and made sure she was okay while they were shooting the like hurricane scene and the storm scene, and like seeing them kind of reminisce. Like it was literally Tamlin, the bell ringing girl, and Ralph sitting at this table together, and it was just like reminiscing and watching the three of them just remember those days and seeing how far they've come. And it was just so emotional for everybody. And it was just like seeing Ralph, how happy he was to be talking with this kid he knew as a girl, like, and hearing how much he meant to her and how great he was to her on set. Like, it was just a really amazing moment.
That's awesome. Sounds very good. And last question is, what's after Cobra Kai?
So hopefully, fingers crossed, we get a season 5. No word yet, but keep watching it on Netflix, and we'll get that pick up.
We definitely do.
After that, so I'm working on. I can't talk much about it, but it's been announced that I'm writing Twisted Metal for Sony, and we're trying to find a home for that, which is I'm very excited about that. I love the game, and I love video games in general, so it's been really fun adapting that, and I'm really proud of it. So I'm working on that. I'm working on some other shows I can't really talk about quite yet because they haven't been announced, but some comedy stuff, some animated stuff. It's all going to be really, really cool. So I'm really, really excited. So those are kind of the big ticket things that I'm working on.
Awesome. Sounds very great. So before I let you go, I wanted to give you the chance to shout out where people maybe can find you if they want to look up what your stuff is about, and also give shout outs to anybody who wants, friends, family, co-workers, mom, dad, who knows.
Yeah, well, you can find me. I said I'm not really on Twitter or Instagram anymore, but my accounts are still open. So you're welcome to follow me on Twitter at Beardy McWhisker. You could follow me on Instagram at I am Michael Jonathan. Or you can follow me at Beardy McWhisker. Beardy McWhisker is like my private account on Instagram, so you can like see the link to my more public one.
I tagged you all day.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. So that's all tagged, so you can follow the tags. Other things you can follow me on. So those are the kind of things. Watch Cobra Kai. I'm working on that. Support all the shows that I'm writing on in the future. So go look at those. Shout outs. I'll shout out Nan Lawson. Check out her artwork. Her artwork's amazing.
Definitely. We cover her all the time. So.
Yes. So thank you. It's awesome. It's been so awesome watching her. Like when we first moved out here, she was working in editing, and I'm sure she talks about this on your show, but like just watching her make art for fun and then like start to make a business and have to quit her job to do it. Like all that, I'm so beyond proud of her. So I'll shout her out. I'll shout out, the Cobra Kai fans. Thank you guys for watching and being so awesome and supportive. And we make it for you guys, and we're pumped that y'all love it. So yeah, that's pretty much it from me.
Perfect, man. Thank you so much, Michael, for coming on. It's been a pleasure talking to you and getting like this behind the scenes glimpse of a real Hollywood writer. So that's really awesome.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. My pleasure. And tell hi to Nan. And yeah, she's always welcome on the show. And that's it. Thank you so much for coming on. Take care, guys.
Awesome. Thanks.